Diana Shad, CEO of the Family Business Alliance. Joining me today is Mike Dykstra, President and CEO of Zeeland Lumber and Supply Company. What year was Zeeland Lumber started in?
So Zeeland Lumber began in 1947.
Okay, and do you have a website?
We do, yep. www.zeelandlumber.com. All lowercase, no space.
Okay, and how many generations are currently involved in the business?
So we have 2 generations currently involved in the business.
Okay, and what generation is leadership?
So the leadership is the 4th generation.
4th generation, okay. Well, that leads to my first question. You have a real interesting history with the company. Can you tell us a little bit about Zeeland Lumber and the history of the organization?
Yeah, so in 1947, my wife's great-grandfather, John A. Vanden Bosch, began Zeeland Lumber and Supply in the corner of Church and Washington Streets in Zeeland, Michigan. And he began this business as a solution to making pallets and shipping crates, mostly for the post-war building period, shipping crates, shipping to Europe after World War II. When that, industry dried up, we had a bunch of wood, and he figured the best thing to do was turn it into a retail lumber yard. So we started selling retail lumber in the building industry at that time.
Okay. And how have things changed over the years? You've sort of had the company has evolved over time.
Yeah, so over the years we grew as the home building business grew here in West Michigan. I began in the business in the mid-90s, which was a very robust time in the housing industry. We had a desire to be more than lumber, more than just framing packages, commodity lumber, 2x4s and OSB panels and plywoods and so on. So we made a concerted effort to start selling non-framing products, windows, doors, exterior products, roofing, siding, decking, cabinetry, and just become a very reliable, trusted source for lumber and building materials in the West Michigan market.
Now, when it started before, do you know how many employees were started back in 1947?
Less than half a dozen.
And how many do you have today?
Over 450.
Over 450. All in the West Michigan area, or are you expanded?
No, we've expanded. So really what happened in 2010, in the depth of the recession, we decided we should expand our geography and expand our business from strictly a lumber and building material yard, which is basically a distribution business, and get into value-add design and manufacturing. And that's when we started our truss and wall panel division. So currently, in 2010, we had 100 employees on 1 location in Zeeland, Michigan, doing that primary business activity of lumber and building material dealer. Currently, we have over 450 employees in 6 locations. Our location in Zeeland, here in Grand Rapids, 2 locations in Indiana, 1 in Elkhart, 1 in Mishawaka, near South Bend area, and then in the eastern Michigan market serving the Detroit area, in Waterford, Michigan, and in Novi, Michigan. 4 of those were startups, greenfields. We bought the property and began operations, and 1 of them was an acquisition.
Okay.
So we've grown incredibly in the last few years since the recession.
Pretty much quadrupled in about 8 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One of our major thrusts was we merged with a competitor at the time, Hamilton Lumber and Truss, and in 2009, and that got us into the truss business, and then we expanded that in many ways. So we are still majority family owned, but we have a minority partner, CHS, who has been purchased Hamilton Lumber or Hamilton Farm Bureau, and that's how they became a partner of ours.
Okay.
As a minority partner. But as far as the family business, we are 4th generation family, and of the 450 employees, there are really only 4 of us that are in the family or related to the family. And as I indicated before, I'm the in-law, so I have a bit of a different version of how I arrived in the family business, but it's been super rewarding and a really incredible journey.
Can you expand on that a little bit about how you, as an in-law, how you got involved with the business and how you progressed to a leadership position?
Yeah, so in my years of summers of high school and college, I had worked for several contractors, so I knew a little bit about the construction industry. And then my wife and I, after we were married, we moved away from the area. And then my father-in-law approached me and said, hey, would you like to get involved in the family business? So I did something that I said I'd never do in college, is live in Zeeland and work for my father-in-law. But both those decisions have been well worth it. And so I started in the business literally doing general customer service, inside sales, purchasing, product management, sales management, operations management, and then in 2010, our board of directors wanted to make a leadership transition, and I was, as my father-in-law was, Herc was leading to semi-retirement, so they interviewed several people, myself included, and I was happy to be promoted to president in 2010, and then president and CEO in 2012.
So now one thing that was interesting that we were discussing before you came in was that you had quite a disaster occur in 2014, which would have been shortly after you took over as CEO. Can you tell our members a little bit more about that?
Yeah, correct. At our location here in Clay Avenue in Wyoming, in the city of Wyoming, just off of 54th and Clay, that's where our truss and wall panel manufacturing is located in the Grand Rapids market. And in July of 2014, we were hit with a tornado that went through this area, and it totally wiped out our building, a very narrow path. It didn't hurt our neighbors on either side of us. It did take out the dog kennel across the street, but it wiped out our entire office and manufacturing building. But through it, we were blessed in many ways. Number one, we had a third shift team of employees working at the time, and none of them were injured. They did what they were trained to do, is go underneath the big truss table, and the roof collapsed on the table that they were under. So it was a very traumatic situation, but they were unhurt in any way. We'd also just recently started up our Elkhart facility, and we transported team members to that facility because we weren't to capacity there, so we could keep production. And then we rebuilt here a much bigger, better building than we had before, with some new equipment, some increased capacity in our production, and a very nice new office. We went from 3,600 square feet to 14,000 square feet in the office space. And through it all, we didn't lose any customers or any team members from our employee team.
That's amazing that you were able to keep things pretty seamless with such a tragic thing happening like that, and thank goodness nobody was injured.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
It was amazing. It was very chaotic and a very much a leadership challenge. Mm-hmm. But all our leadership team really rallied around doing the right thing and putting in the extra time and effort to take care of our customers, take care of our team members, and then work the new building plan, and it really all worked out in the end. It's kind of a blessing in disguise.
Well, right? It is a beautiful building. We're here right now.
Thank you.
So I wanted to switch gears a little bit to talk a little bit about the family business aspect. I know that you have some college-age children or recent graduates. What's your experience been like engaging the next generation of the family business?
So far, all three of my children have worked at Zeeland Lumber during some course of their high school career or into the college summers and those kind of jobs. But none of them have engaged with the business beyond that. We made an agreement that any of my children would need at least 3 years outside of the family business before thinking about getting back into the business, and they would want the same thing. And then it would be based on position availability and merit as far as getting a position. However, I will say we are more a family-owned business than a family-managed business. As I mentioned, there are 4 family members in the entire business of a total of 450 employees, and only 2 of us are on our senior level leadership team of our top 18 leaders. So I don't know exactly what the future will bring. I would never force my children or any other family members' children into a family business. If there's a right fit there is, and if not, it will, it'll happen naturally one way or the other. But I will say our dynamic is more family ownership than family managed, mm-hmm. which helped me in a way to be the in-law and be able to earn my way into the position that I am. So, yeah, it's good.
Was there a history with the company of that, more family owned rather than family managed, or is that sort of with this new generation, with the fourth generation, that's become?
That's a great question. I think that really turned from the third to the fourth generation.
Okay.
Yeah. When I began at Zeeland Lumber in 1994, there was a management team of roughly 7 of us, and 5, maybe 6, and it changed over the years, but almost all of them were somehow related to the family.
Okay.
So that's really changed, I would say, in the last 20 years, and most of that change going, yes, from the third to the fourth generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, interesting.
It's really interesting when you look at family businesses, and we've recently networked with the Family Business Consulting Group, and the percentage of family businesses that make it beyond the fourth generation, or even beyond the third generation into the fourth generation, is less than 4%.
Yeah.
So it's we're in new times and in uncharted territory, and we're growing and learning, and we'll see where it goes.
Well, it's a testament to the generations before you that you've succeeded this long, which is wonderful.
Absolutely.
So what do you like best about being part of a family business?
Well, I believe it's very rewarding to know who you're working for. Like any industry, leading a business is challenging. And we have a lot of great things going for our customers and our team members. But knowing that the ownership, who they are, what their core values are, and the alignment that we have is very rewarding and important, and I believe helps us be successful.
Do you market the fact that you're a family business, or is that just sort of an interesting side note?
We don't actively market it.
Okay.
But our customers know it, and have increasingly, as some of our competitors have been maybe purchased or bought out by private equity or have other ownership arrangements, some customers have mentioned that they notice that we're locally owned, locally vested in the community, family owned, and that it means something. But we don't really actively market it, but it's conversation.
People know about it. Yeah. Well, you just mentioned something about, active in the community. And one of the things that struck me when I met you for the first time and met Jody for the first time was how active you and Zeeland Lumber have been in the community. Can you talk a little bit about some of your efforts in the community and specifically about the Transform Lives initiative?
Yeah, for sure. So again, that comes from a long line from the Vanden Bosch family tradition of giving back to the community through business. And so that's one of these core values that we're aligned with, and and I believe it means something. We believe that we're here to serve one another and make a positive difference in the communities we serve. We do that through various financial gifts, through a charitable giving committee that we have. But recently we added what we call our Transform Lives initiative. And what that is it's an employee volunteer program where our employee team members are allowed up to one full day, 8 hours of paid time off to be part of a team, to work in the community with a pre-approved nonprofit. And it's just another way of giving back and giving back our time and allowing our team members to get involved in something and be paid to go do a volunteer experience. It's really the benefits are immense. From a team building aspect, having our team members out there working together on a project. From a service aspect, everyone has a different heart, when you're serving others, and that transforms people as well. And just from a sake of that we can help make a difference with these various nonprofits in the communities. So we've done a lot of different projects, and we're looking forward to doing a lot more.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, a last question. So looking at all that your family's accomplished and all that you've done in the community, how do you think the founders would feel about where you all are now and what you've achieved?
That's an interesting question. I believe they'd be proud, and they would feel like the hard work that they began and the entrepreneurialism that they had in the beginning actually made a difference for generations And I hope they'd feel like the impact that those early early years of hard work had was worth it to see all the lives impacted and transformed with our team members, with our customers, in the various communities. I also think there'd probably be a little bit of sense of awe, like, wow, what I began now has become something much larger than probably they ever envisioned.
I can imagine, especially with the increase in the number of employees. That's just incredible.
Yeah.
So, was there anything else that we should know or our listeners should know about you or Zeeland Lumber before we close?
No, I think we covered it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking with you today.
All right. Thanks a lot, Diana. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.